A very good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here to make excuses, but if there was a bad beat day for us, it was yesterday. Let's take a look at the recap screen. We were 6-1 yesterday. Sniper probably should hit both of his. The Corbin Burns to record a win. The way that one lost was truly unbelievable. Tigers team total over 3.5. They score 3 in the third and nothing else. Calvin probably should have cashed his, loses it by a bucket due to a fourth quarter explosion. 2-4. Again, yesterday, 6-1. We're going to have days like this here and there, but we did have a couple of cashes in there. Let's see if we can do better. We've got a special guest on the show, and on a special day, mind you. We've got Mackenzie Brooks. We've got Mike McClure. We got Mikey B, and we've got AMags, but we have Trysta Krick here. And Trysta, as luck would have it, for you or for us or for everybody, it's your birthday today. Happy birthday and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. What a day to do it. When I got asked to do it, I said, this is just perfect luck.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like your birthday wish coming true. You must have blown out the candles already, because this is
I've been hoping upon hope that this day would come, that I would make it to the Early Edge. And on my 29th birthday, excuse me, we're going to just say that, I finally did it.
39 is the new 31. Everybody knows that, Trysta. Oh, we do have to get to know you real quick before we're going to go around the horn. I need to get some NBA reaction from everybody, basically. But Trysta, give me your favorite movie or favorite sitcom. What comes to mind?
Ooh, favorite sitcom? Favorite movie, I think, is probably Top Gun Maverick.
Right.
I think that's the greatest movie I've ever seen, just because of the behind the scenes that they do all the stunts themselves are actually in those fighter jets. So that's probably my favorite movie, but I know that's like a little bit more recent. And I don't want to say like Shawshank Redemption, which is pretty much what everybody says.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Favorite boy band. That's the last one. Go.
Ooh, Backstreet Boys.
It's the wrong answer. That is the wrong answer. Everybody in the chat, tell her what the right answer is, please. Let's see. Mike McClure, let me get some reaction to the game yesterday. Were you surprised by the Pacers pulling it off and going up 3-1?
Not surprised. I still think the teams are relatively even. I thought that once we saw how high scoring the game was going to be, we knew that New York was probably drawing dead at that point. So yeah, not terribly surprised.
Mackenzie, your reaction, is this series over?
Yeah, I mean, I had them at the beginning of the series to win. We swept on Twitter last night, which I'm realizing every time I do that and then I come on this show, just to be transparent, I typically don't hit the bet after a sweep. So we're going to try to buck that trend today.
All right. Mikey B, is the series over? And what do we think the finals matchup is going to be?
Yeah, I do think the series over. I don't see how the Knicks win 3 games in a row against the Pacers. Could they win the next game? Yeah, sure. But I don't see how they beat the Pacers 3 games in a row. I think we're on our way towards Pacers Thunders, which is going to be a ratings extravaganza, right?
Mm-hmm.
OKC and Indiana, everybody knows, 2 of the biggest markets in the country. AMags, Arizona, not necessarily a big market. Pittsburgh, not necessarily a big market. Can you just real quickly, before we get into picks, can you speak to what happened? I mean, Corbin Burns, I put a parlay out. It wasn't an official pick. Part of it was Arizona. We had Corbin Burns to get the win. How unlikely was it? I got to imagine it was like a 99% chance that Arizona was going to win that game. They're up 6-0. We still have Corbin Burns pitching into the 6th inning. Kevin Ginkel comes in, I believe in the 8th, promptly gives up, a hit, and a walk. And then all of a sudden it's, a 9-6 final. That was crazy.
One of the worst games, finishes to a game I've seen. Corbin Burns pitched great. Yep. I was right with Sniper on the Corbin Burns to record a win. And then Kevin Ginkel, I think it was only 5 runs were charged to him. I mean, he should have had every run charged him. It was terrible. So yeah, just you see stuff like that. It is what it is. That's baseball, as John Sterling would say. But that's a tough one as you're watching it. You're cruising to victory there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get to some picks. By the way, there is no correct answer to the boy band thing, Trysta. There's a bunch of people in the chat that are some of these answers are great, by the way, but I think the answer's in sync. Nonetheless, Mike McClure, let's get to the French Open. Then we're going to get to some basketball. And Trysta, I do want to get maybe some of your reaction to what you think is going to happen tonight, Timberwolves OKC. But I know we have a lot of official picks on that game from Kenz and from Mikey B. But Mike, tennis, anyone? Start us off with the French Open.
Yes, Wimbledon coming up. French Open now. I have another over for us. I love some of these earlier round tournament overs. Sebastian Korda, Jensen Brooksby, All-American matchup here. 35.5 is the number. That you can get there on a 3-set match, but you're basically betting this to go 4 sets. And I think that that's the same look that we essentially had in that Medvedev matchup. So I like this particular one for the exact same reason. I think that the money line on the match is far too wide. I think that Korda is definitely the better player. I think Brooksby can give him some challenges, though. The fact that you've got a 5-set match here, potentially, I think it's so difficult for a guy like Korda to maintain his level for the length of this match. So I think it's going to be one that is just simply back and forth a little bit in terms of contrasting style of play here. Korda, like I said, he is the better player. He's going to play from the baseline. He hits extremely hard. Brooksby's weakness is his serve, but he is extremely, I won't say chaotic, but different, and can take a while to really adjust to it. You'll see certain things like the 2-handed backhand with some slice, just unusual shots that I think can put Korda in positions to essentially draw this match out. You can play it at 36.5 if you want. I think that we're ultimately getting at least 4 sets, though, which should cash this over very easily. Should be a very competitive match here.
All right, Brooksby and Korda over 35.5 games at -125. Larry Hartstein is in the chat. We've got Early Edge Royalty in the chat, and he says he just, I guess, typed in an AI description of the Early Edge, and it literally says, and I think this is a quote, viewers are naming popular boy bands from the 90s and early 2000s. Some are also discussing basketball, baseball, golf, and tennis. Welcome to the Early Edge, folks. That is absolutely perfect. This is the best day of my life. Let's go to the NBA. Mackenzie Brooks, one of my favorite players in the NBA. I always talk about him being underrated, and it looks like the market has Naz Reid underrated as well.
Yeah, we talked about this before. This was a guy I bet on a ton last season, and I honestly am surprised this is the first time we've really kind of looked his way here. His points total line set at 9.5. So we have him projected for 11, and he averages 13 all the season. So anytime we're getting plus money for something below our projection, below his average of the season, we're absolutely going to hop on it. Now, obviously things get different in the playoffs, but still, even on the road, he's a solid 63% to this over. And then you have to think about even just Rudy Gobert potentially reverting back to his foul-prone, ways. So maybe he gets more minutes, Naz Reid, maybe, at center as well. But I just think we're in a buy low spot, I guess, overall through the playoffs, but he still comes in with 3 double-digit games here. So I see a game with a lot of minutes for our guy, Naz Reid, but I do think this is an OKC covers the spread type of game.
Yeah, and I think your counterpart, Stephen O, feels the same way. And we'll get to the SportsLine picks in just a second. But before we do that, Mikey B, we've got more Naz Reid action, but you're also going back to SGA. I remember it was a couple of days ago you had his over assists. We're headed right back to it.
That's right, Sia. We're going back to the well. We took Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over 6.5 assists on Monday's show. It's 7.5 now. I still like the over at -114. He had 10 assists in game 4 to go along with his 40 points. Now, the outlier in this series was game 3 when he only had 6 assists, but that's only because he played 28 minutes in the lopsided score. He's had at least 8 assists in each of the other 3 games of the series. He had at least 8 assists in 3 or 4 games against the Timberwolves during the regular season. I don't think the Timberwolves are going to cave here, so I think Gilgeous-Alexander plays 35, 40-minute range and goes over the 7.5 assists. And I like Mackenzie going with Naz Reid. I will too, and I'll take him on the rebounds, over 5.5 rebounds. During the regular season, he averaged a career-high 6 rebounds per game. First 2 rounds of the playoffs, pretty quiet against the Lakers and Warriors. He only averaged 3.6 rebounds, but this is a much better matchup against the Thunder. They allowed the 11th most rebounds per game during the regular season. They have allowed the most rebounds per game in the playoffs. He's grabbed at least 6 rebounds in all 4 games of this series. In 3 of those games, he had at least 8. If you're noticing here, the Thunder have been going smaller. Isaiah Hartenstein's getting fewer minutes. They're going more with Chet Holmgren. They even had a few lineups with both of them off the floor. So I think that provides more rebounding opportunities for Naz Reid, and he goes over 5.5 boards.
All right. This is the Nas Reed show here. Trista, do you have an opinion on this game? I mean, spoiler alert, we have a SportsLine pick that has OKC laying the points here. It is a lot though. It's 8.5. At the same time, I feel like this is the type of atmosphere that it could get away from Minnesota. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't feel like outside of last game where Dante DiVincenzo caught fire and Nickeil Alexander-Walker caught fire, that the role players just haven't really been showing up in a game that Minnesota won. And Edwards finally did what we expect him to do. They're just overmatched. OKC's defense is stifling. And the thing that they do is their defense goes on runs. All of a sudden, you think you're in it. It's 2, it's 4, maybe you're tied. And then all of a sudden, OKC's out to a 15-0 run. All of those are on transition buckets because they're all in your sweatpants, all in your shorts, and making life hell for you. I just don't think Ant can do it alone, and I do not trust those role players. Probably wouldn't lay the points, so I stayed all the way away. Maybe I would take like a Minnesota under team total because when it gets ugly, it gets super ugly. But yeah, I think this series is over, and I would not be surprised if OKC won this game by 10 or 12 points after maybe like a fourth quarter run.
Yeah, absolutely love that analysis. You're right about the defense. Going into the series, it's such a funny thing looking back at it. I'm like, well, if Minnesota can limit the turnovers, they're going to be in every one of these games. And it's like, that's like the biggest if of all time. And it's every single time down court, you're just praying they don't turn the ball over because these hands and the feet are so active on every single Thunder player. Speaking of the NBA, folks, BetMGM players will receive their stake back in cash as a second chance refund on any pregame straight NBA first field goal wager when the player they wager on does not score the game's first field goal, but scores the game's second field goal. Take advantage of this promo for every game during the NBA playoffs. I did tell you that we have a SportsLine pick, and it is on the Oklahoma City Thunder -8.5. And then we're going to baseball. Bruce Marshall headed to the Tampa Bay Rays money line -110. So those are a couple of SportsLine picks for you. We still have more baseball picks to do with AMags. We've got some home run model plays. We've got WNBA picks from Trysta. I'm even going to show you some first-round leaders from the early wedge show yesterday. We'll cover it all right after this message from our partners.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
We're back on the early edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Big Cheesy in the chat, he says Twins team total over 3.5 at -125, and the Tampa Bay Rays team total over 3.5 at -120. Hey, Mags, let's get you in here. I actually want to put up the home run model plays in a second as well, but any thoughts on that Twins Rays game? Because obviously we have the SportsLine pick. Big Cheesy likes the over both ways. What do you like in this game, if anything?
Just looking up what the weather looks like, we're going to get a day game in Tampa, which is one of the more extreme environments that we can have. You get that Yankee Stadium dimensions, but you're going to get the 85, 90 degree weather, the humidity. So yeah, it looks like humidity should be rather high. It should be hot. I think that definitely the hitters are where I would side in that game. So yeah, I do like the team totals to go over.
All right. Big Cheesy, super sharp. Thanks for being in here. Japan is in here. CID, John, Aaron Tailored Winnings, who I know him among so many others are in the SportsLine Discord, just dropping all kinds of knowledge and absorbing some as well. Michael Mig is in here. Hit the like button if you could. Trista, how about a couple of plus money birthday picks in the WNBA?
We can't be cowards on our birthday,
No.
can we?
No.
We gotta find a way to extract a little value. Only one WNBA game on today, so I'm a little bit bummed about that, but it's a good one. The Mystics have been super fun. They're covering numbers. I think the way that they play has been really interesting. They're playing this more of a Mike D'Antoni style offense back in the Steve Nash days where it's like 8 seconds to get a shot up. And the issue for me is like, okay, how do we handicap or how do we analyze Aaliyah Boston now that Caitlin Clark is out for 2 weeks, right? I think you're going to not get as many of those easy transition layups that Caitlin Clark is so known for. But I think Stephanie White has shown, the new head coach of the Indiana Fever, that they want to feed the post early. I think that's a ton of post looks for Aaliyah Boston because Caitlin Clark is no longer going to be in the lineup shooting threes from the logo. I think that the paint is going to be pretty clogged because Caitlin's not spacing the floor the same way. And so I think Aaliyah is not only going to get the field goal attempts, I think she's going to get fouled a lot more. I think she probably has 18, 19 field goal attempts today. So I like her to score 20 or more points. Stephanie Dolson is a bit of a stiff. She's super immobile. Aaliyah Edwards isn't playing because she has a back injury. And I just don't think that our girl Kiki Iriafin's going to be able to keep up with her. Easy points down low. So I like Aaliyah Boston plus 164, 20 points or more. And then Kiki Iriafin, she's been a beast. I think she actually wins Rookie of the Year this year. I think that's a hot take. Paige Beckers just doesn't look like she is going to have the team success. Kiki Iriafin, 12 plus rebounds, plus 186. She's had a double-double in every game but one so far. That was the game that they played against the Atlanta Dream against Brittany Griner, her first look, right? She's got a knack for finding the ball. Some of the teams she's played against don't have elite rebounding bigs, but look what she did to Asia Wilson. She got 13 rebounds in that game, the two-time MVP. So I like the Fever obviously have Natasha Howard and Aaliyah Boston, but Mystic rebounds are only going to go to her. You can take her at 10 if you're soft, if you're a coward, at minus 135. But at 12, it's plus 186. And if you parlay those two together, it's almost plus 500. What are we talking about?
What are we talking about? I mean, here's the thing. She gave you an out. Trysta gave you an out. If you want to take the minus 135 at 10 plus rebounds, it's there for you to take. But Trysta's not a coward, and she's taking the huge plus money. Absolutely love to see it, Trysta. By the way, there's people in the chat asking about this game from a spread standpoint. Japan says he got Mystics money line at plus 165. I'm seeing it in other places around plus 150, plus 145. No official plays, but any thoughts in that department?
I just don't know how this Fever team is going to look without Caitlin. And every bettor knows that when the star player goes out, there's that little bounce back where all of a sudden we get even better play from Kelsey Mitchell. All of a sudden we get Sophie Cunningham going crazy. So I'm not touching it. I do understand why you would want to take the Mystics to cover the number. Like I said, you needed a Jewel Lloyd 3, last second 3 for the Aces to beat the Mystics, which is crazy, right? Because they're a contender. No play, but I understand why maybe you'd want to take the Mystics money line.
All right. Good stuff from Trysta Krick, as usual. AMags, before we get to your pick, let's pull up the home run model plays. Again, these are the top MLB home run plays per the SportsLine model, and you see the SportsLine odds on the left and the real odds on the right. We got Wyatt Langford, Pete Alonso, and Tyler Stevenson. Looks like there's some major value AMags on Tyler Stevenson, plus 500 versus plus 800. Any of these three names striking you, sticking out to you?
So the only thing with Stevenson in that game, and you look at quite a few other games here, is the weather and potentials for rains and rainouts or delays or games cut short. So just be careful on betting, anything today before you've checked the weather. I will say though, to get, $3 there of value, that plus 800 versus the plus 500, the SportsLine model has been pretty good. I think Jake Fettner had been on a nice little run over the last week or so with some of those home run bets. So, I mean, if you're getting that much value, I'd side there. But I will at least say this. A couple nights ago, I liked Ben Rice, leadoff hitter, lefty for the Yankees. He did not home run. Then last night, he hits a home run. Bellinger was someone I liked last night. So, if you do a little zig and zag tonight, lefty again for Bellinger against Kikuchi, we know how good he's been in the lefty-lefty matchup. So I think Cody Bellinger would be my pick.
All right. Well, we think the weather's going to be pretty good out in Los Angeles. Talk to me about your play.
So I actually, really quick, I wanted to at least give this one up top before I give my Aaron Judge play, because Trysta was so great in talking about not being a coward and taking some plus money shots. Well, my Aaron Judge play is plus money, but this one I wanted to at least get it out there. Tanner Gordon to walk 2 batters. If you look at his last starts in his last 6 between AAA and MLB levels, 5 of those 6 he's walked 2 batters. You're getting plus 120 against a tough Cubs lineup that definitely works the count for a guy here that, like I said, 5 of these last 6 he's walked at least 2 batters. He's also given up a bunch of hits. I'm going to play the over 5.5 hits for him as well. But let's get to Aaron Judge tonight in the nightcap here against Yusei Kikuchi. I do really like Judge, and facing a lefty, getting plus money over 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He didn't hit this last night. we know how good he's been. Actually, he got his average back up above 400 for a short time last night in his second at bat. He had a hit. So, from that point, he was kind of teetering on that 400 line that we've seen. And just, again, this guy has been incredible to those numbers. That's what it speaks to. Kikuchi, the lefty here against Judge, it's not like he has a ton of great numbers against him, but he's faced him quite a few times. And I just think that experience, this final game in California here for him, at least in LA against the Angels, he will go face the Dodgers. But, just this last game of the series here against Kikuchi and the bullpen, you look at last time Kikuchi, he's getting into the sixth inning, but 11, runners on base, 7 hits, 4 walks against Miami. He pitched around trouble. I think tonight, Judge and the Yankees find a way to get to him.
All right. I do want to go around the horn, specifically to Kenz, Mikey B, and Mike McClure to see if there's any questions in the chat that we need to verbalize. But before I do that, we had so many people on today. I'll wait to give out an official pick in golf tomorrow for the afternoon session at the Memorial. But I do want to give out, if you didn't watch the early wedge last night, shame on you, but that's okay, because I'm going to bring at least some of the stuff over, maybe tomorrow as well. Sia's first round leader picks. Why did I just say my name like I'm talking in the third person? Sorry, I'm just reading the graphic, folks. Here's 3 first round leaders: Siwoo Kim, Seb Straka, Matt Fitzpatrick, all happen to be 55-1. If you watch the early wedge, from an outright perspective, I'm a pretty big fan, and also in the finishing position market, of Siwoo Kim and Matt Fitzpatrick. Seb Straka, he's been really good here. He's won twice on tour. I'm not necessarily as big on him for a full 4 rounds, but I do like these 3. I like the odds that are being offered at 55-1. Let's transition. Mackenzie Brooks, talk to me about anything in the chat, NBA or otherwise, that you needed to address.
Not seeing too much NBA in the chat, honestly. It looks like a lot of MLB, but big on OKC. Still like Naz Reid, obviously, but yeah, I'm siding with where I started this playoff.
All right, Mike McClure, it did look like there were some tennis questions or maybe just comments in the chat. Anything to address?
Yeah, I see people asking. The number has largely moved to 36.5 from the 35.5. Still okay with it here. The likely outcome is 40 plus or only 30. It's very unlikely to be right on the number. I do still want to play that number because it is then possible to get there in a 3-setter when you include tie breaks. But once you cross that threshold, it's unlikely, just not. So I don't mind it at 36.5. I saw someone want Australian Open picks. I respect the hustle, wanting picks 7 months in advance. I think they meant the French Open. We're all talking about tennis, but yeah, the Aussie Open, I can give you a future for 7 months from now if you want it, though. I will take Carlos Alcaraz in that one.
Last night on a primetime pregame, I'm on with Mike and Todd, and we're talking about week 1 Eagles Cowboys, a best bet. Mike's out here giving teasers. Todd's out here telling me what the weather and the wind's going to be like in September. I'm like, what is going on here?
I love that. So you guys were really covering week 1 lines because they're all out, obviously.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts,
Yes.
anytime touchdown, guys. Get it before it's -200.
No, if anyone wanted to potentially tease the Eagles against the Cowboys with the Baltimore Ravens plus 7.5 against the Bills, I wouldn't hate it.
Wow. Here we are.
wouldn't
Hey,
hate it.
well, in your defense, Mike, we're about 99 days away from kickoff. So now, by the way, SportsLine. Okay, so we have that striker putting that in the chat. Now we can do the number thing. So starting tomorrow, if there's a number 98, you guys can come up with. I'm trying to think. Do we know a 98 off the top of our head, or a 99 for that matter?
That might be Jordan Davis on the Eagles. Georgia Bulldog. Sign my football.
I think number 98 on the Giants back in my day was Jesse Armstead, if I'm remembering correctly. The jerseys I had hanging in my closet.
Jesse Armstead, former Miami Hurricane, I think. All right, we could probably do this all day. Let's see. AMags, there was a question or a comment about Paul Skeens. He's this is a 340 game. Obviously, revenge on the mind of the Diamondbacks. They've got Zach Gallen going at home, but again, Paul Skeens on the other side of it, 7.5 run total. Any thoughts on this one with the Diamondbacks being -135?
Yeah, I mean, I would side with the Diamondbacks after last night. You think they get back on track, but Skeen's a tough one to go up against. I think the question was on his strikeouts as well. Just looking at to go over 7.5, I don't even actually see him projecting at 6. It's right around that number, but definitely not to up to that next level. So I wouldn't take him on the over for strikeouts. Also, too, though, just something to mention on Hunter Green. I see him right next to Skeens on the projections here. that game, last time out, not a bunch of strikeouts for him, had just come off of a very short bullpen session. That game probably has some weather implications where maybe you get a delay and then he gets taken out. So his number at 6.5, I think it might be 5.5 here, but no, 6.5, you can get the under like -155. I think that's pretty interesting too.
All right. By the way, Warren Sapp and J.J. Watt. We're Warren Sapp and J.J. Watt days away from kickoff. And Brian Arakpo, I thought of that one right after I asked about 98. Save the 98s for tomorrow on the early edge. Trista, how did we do? Any comments, suggestions? What will you come back? I know it's like super early where you are. You're on the West Coast.
Yeah, it is 7:30 where I am right now. I woke up at 5:30 for y'all, for the chat, for everybody in this group. I'm just tickled pink about the early wedge. If I'm ever having a bad day, I'm just gonna think about the early wedge.
Yeah, we're all about wordplay. I don't know if you bet golf.
I love that.
I don't know if you bet golf. I will say this, even if you don't like golf, if you think it's boring or whatever, because a lot of people do, it's kind of a niche sport. It's, to me, like one of the most fun sports to bet on because you get like a 4-day sweat and there's a lot of like outright stuff you can hit at 70, 100 to 1, 30 to 1, whatever the case may be. So I don't know, Trista, maybe you should turn into the early wedge 4 days a week.
I should. I really should. Here's a little fun fact that you guys didn't ask for. I was a golf caddy growing up. So I caddied at Bandon Dunes Golf Resort all the way through college. Went on a caddy scholarship to the University of Oregon. So I love golf. I don't think it's boring at all. I think it's incredible drama.
I didn't know there was a caddy scholarship, if I'm being honest.
So awesome.
Chick Evans, his wife, I think, forced him to start the scholarship, like as we do, right? And started in Chicago. Most of the Evans scholars started going to Northwestern. They have a caddy house at most universities. Co-ed where they live together. That can't be bad in any way, fraternizing with your other Evans scholars. For when I went to Oregon, they only gave us like a quarter room and board scholarship, but now they have an Evans scholarship or Evans scholar house at Oregon now too. So yeah, now you know.
Now you learn something new every day, or at least you try to. Trista, that was great. Can we have you back? Will you come back?
I'm in. I'm all the way in.
All the way in. Maybe you can come on the early wedge as well. That would be fantastic. Mike McClure is on that show with me and a bunch of others. All right. I guess that'll do it. Let's get to the recap screen before we get everybody out of here. French Open. We've got Brooksby versus Korda over 35.5 games. You heard what Mike said about the 36.5 option. Now we go to the Fever at the Mystics props. This is courtesy of Trista, birthday girl, Kiki Irafin, 12 plus rebounds at plus 182, and Aaliyah Boston, 20 plus points at plus 164. And if you feel so inclined, you could parlay this at near plus 500. Then we go to the NBA with Mikey B, SGA over 7.5 assists at minus 114, and Naz Reid over 5.5 rebounds at minus 120. More Naz Reid from Mackenzie Brooks. Naz Reid over 9.5 points at plus 102. And then we got AMags, Aaron Judge over 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs at even money. And we move to the Thunder minus 8.5 tonight. That one is a SportsLine pick courtesy of Stephen O. And then finally, the Rays money line against the Twins. Rays are minus 110. That one courtesy of Bruce Marshall. What a great show. What a great cast. Mike always says when we get the 6, it's like a Zoom call. But it didn't feel like a Zoom call. Zoom calls always feel very office-y and businessy. This is where we have a lot of fun and talk about boy bands and sports. On behalf of Trysta Krick, happy birthday again. On behalf of Mikey B, AMags, Mackenzie Brooks, and Mike McClure, and of course, Striker on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, and all of you in the chat. Thanks for being in here each and every day. We'll see you next time on The Early Edge. We rest our case.